Well, I know I've said this a lot, but I don't think hardly anyone saw this coming. In a move that shocked the gaming world as much as it shocked a certain spiky-haired protagonist, Sephiroth, one of the most iconic villains in all of gaming, is next to join the fight. Oh boy. So while everyone's still reeling over the surprise, let's take a quick-ish look at the reveal trailer and see what information we can infer. And if you're watching this from the future after Sakurai presents, then this should still be interesting because your power of hindsight lets you compare and contrast with how his moveset actually ended up, or at least laugh and roll your eyes about how far off base I was. Either way. Though we saw surprisingly few of Sephiroth's regular attacks, what we did see may tell us a lot, like his forward tilt, a horizontal swing of his sword Masamune. As you'd expect from the sword's famous length, this move has insane range for a tilt, and may or may not even be angleable up or down, but it's very slow to come out by tilt standards. Based on the trailer's 30 frames per second footage, this move seems to not be active until frame 13 or 14, nearly as slow as many forward smashes. And his actual forward smash takes the same idea as the tilt and runs with it. A two-handed slash with a more pronounced swing, it's a massive hitbox with presumably a lot of power on it. But based on the footage, it doesn't hit until frame 25 at the earliest. While it'll be terrifying for punishing certain options, it won't catch jumps very well since it doesn't come down from above like Ike's or Ganondorf's forward smashes. Sephiroth's up smash, though, is much better suited for covering the air. Despite not hitting until frame 23 or 24, its enormous arc will be able to cover get-up options and smother platforms when opponents have nowhere else to go. A scary move to have, and he makes it look effortless to perform, even if its frame data makes it situational. And here's what seems to be Sephiroth's down smash, a low diagonal stab. Look out, Aerith! While it reaches forward really far for a down smash, it doesn't cover behind him whatsoever, and it's not out until around frame 19. Willing to bet it'll be able to two-frame ledge grabs though, so pray you don't get hit by it then. We also caught a glimpse of a couple aerials, first being this unusual forward air that consists of just a straight stab forward. With very long reach but a narrow hitbox, it'll be awkward for controlling space with due to the precision required. But it does have an additional use. You can impale the sword into walls and use it to give yourself an extra jump. Sort of like a more limited version of what Corrin's side special can do. It has a feature of a regular attack, though it doesn't stick enemies into place, as you can see. And this very familiar diving stab appears to be Sephiroth's down air. Look out, Aerith! Based on the rigidness of his movement and the apparent presence of a landing hitbox, I think this one has dive kick properties, and the extreme range of the Masamune will give this move utility against opponents with poor range trying to juggle him. But its true usefulness will depend on how much of a commitment it is to use. That and other sword characters whose up airs have them swing in an arc will still be able to hit him from the side as he comes down. While that's all we saw of Sephiroth's normal attacks, what we caught of his specials is a deal more complicated, starting with his apparent neutral special, based on the recurring enemy skill Shadow Flare. One clip shows it cast on Dark Pit, who takes a small hit that generates 3 dark fireballs rotating around him. Then a different clip shows the fireballs activate, converging on poor Link for a bigger hit after a short delay. It's quite unique among projectiles, with only Mega Man's Crash Bomber coming close. It seems you can charge this move, as there's a few frames of Sephiroth charging it in the first clip, and the second shows that the fireballs seem to activate on their own after a short amount of time, not on command. That pose he takes there happens after the flare kicks in, so it's probably just a taunt. Then we have this move, seemingly based on Octaslash, one of Sephiroth's trademark techniques. A brief charge leads into a flurry of 8 hits that also propels you in the direction held. Curiously, this move has a targeting arrow indicating both that you can aim this in several directions and that opponents will be able to tell where you're headed beforehand. Is the fact that it's more telegraphed meant to be a deliberate downside? The variety of angles on offer here has me unsure whether it's meant to be a side special or up special. Not helping matters is this standalone move, whose identity is hard to figure out. This arcing slash performed while facing the background looks plenty powerful even if it isn't actually splitting the underside of Midgar's main platform in two. That's just Odin doing it off camera. While it could be an up air, the spark at the start there is usually reserved for smash attacks or other significant moves, which makes me think it's actually the very end of Sephiroth's up special, or possibly a unique ending to Octaslash if it ends in midair. Or maybe it's his up air after all. The evidence is inconclusive. Meanwhile, Sephiroth's down special is inconclusive for different reasons. Based on the clip, Scintilla just seems like a run-of-the-mill counter move, allowing him to block an enemy attack and retaliate. The only real standout thing here is that the counter-attack is multi-hit, which makes me think there's more going on here because that doesn't diverge much from the other counters. Keep an eye on this one. Finally, we have Sephiroth's final smash. And was anyone expecting anything different? Borrowing his appearance as Final Fantasy VII's final boss, well, it's not clear exactly what he does because the trailer fades to white before anything can happen, but presumably he uses his ultimate attack Supernova from that fight. Probably the Japanese version of it, because having a final smash take 2 full minutes to finish would just be annoying for everyone involved. Oh, and speaking of one-winged angels, there's also this thing that exists. It seems certain situations cause Sephiroth's signature solitary wing to unfurl, allowing him to, we're left with more questions than answers so far. All we can really pick out is from a couple certain clips. Going back to the down smash, if you notice here, it seems like connecting with it causes the wing to come out, which raises questions of how you activate it. Do you have to hit with certain attacks, deal a certain amount of damage, or are there multiple factors like Cloud's limit mechanic? And how long does it stick around once it's out? Though it does seem to enhance certain moves at minimum, because near the end of the gameplay, there's this clip with the wing in full view where we see an overclocked version of Shadow Flare with far more destructive power than what we saw prior. If this isn't just what the move does normally at full charge, and I kinda doubt that since why stick it in the wing part of the trailer in that case, then this move at minimum gains new effects when in this form. Probably other moves as well, though we've no way of knowing just yet. So, what do we make of all of this? Can we figure out how Sephiroth might play from a strategic standpoint? What limited gameplay we got does give me one big impression. A fighter who thrives on instilling fear. His huge, powerful, yet slow to start attacks encourage using them proactively, swinging first and forcing opponents to find answers lest they be outspaced and outdamaged. His specials tie into it further, with the delayed pressure of Shadow Flare, the probably sheer damage of Octaslash, and the defensive mix-ups of Scintilla, forcing other players to constantly keep thoughts of them in the backs of their heads. In a way, playing as him might feel like playing as a final boss, using an array of threatening yet telegraphed attacks that force people to respond to them while using mind games to manipulate them into making mistakes so you can break their will to fight. Typical Sephiroth, huh? His actual weaknesses will depend on the rest of his moveset that we didn't see, and on his raw stats and other such things we don't know of yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's vulnerable to getting hit hard if his stronger attacks are evaded or he gets read, since a big part of fighting a boss in these action-type games involves noticing where their openings are. Or perhaps the pin function of his forward air might imply his recovery is pretty suspect, and he'll have to lean on that to augment it. Could also see a situation where all of his aerials are high commitment in a way that makes going off stage inherently risky, limiting his ability to edgeguard safely. And he might not be as heavy as most of the other bad guys. He strikes me as a cruiserweight or lighter heavyweight, maybe in the 102 to 108 range. We'll see how close I get. I ended up way off on the exact identity of the arms fighter, but I did get a few details on the moveset right, like being able to throw out 2 attacks at a time and being able to swap or charge arms for various effects. Who knows, right? Overall, while very unexpected, Sephiroth looks to be a distinct addition to Ultimate, whose moveset is actually very well thought out. Should be interesting to see what other content accompanies him, from the new stage based on Final Fantasy VII's Final Dungeon, to the possibility of more than just 2 music tracks this time, to whatever the hell that enhanced version of Omnislash was that Cloud pulled out in the trailer. There's a lot that could be used here, and the fact that I've done this entire video without using One-Winged Angel is testament to that. It also leaves the collective community wondering just what direction DLC could go in from here. Just what could they do to top this? Actually, I don't think they intend to one-up this. This is probably the midpoint climax of sorts that Smash reveal cycles tend to have, and it'll start to wind down from here, with picks that are lower key but can do unique stuff that still makes them appealing. Maybe a topic that could use its own video. Special thanks to these people here for helping me rush this thing out before it becomes outdated, and to my patrons for their continued support. So, until next time, things are going to be very edgy on Quick Play for a while, aren't they?